Hi, it's Chris and welcome to RallyNotes.com, and welcome to the new Purple Plymouth Project. As always, the goal of our channel is to get you out on the stages, and this is a perfect example of an older car that needs some TLC. A 1998 Plymouth Neon Espresso in purple. We're going to share all of our knowledge about what's important and what's not when prepping your first rally car. So if you're new to the channel and you're at all interested in what it takes to get out on the stages, stick around. So let's roll the intro and get into some decontamination. If you caught our last video, you know we've collected an old project car that's been sitting in a field for about 5 years. A bird, some mice, and many other creatures seem to have taken up residence in the Plymouth. Chewed bits, droppings, and UV have taken their toll, but it's all not lost. We've got a super beefy roll cage that was built for future regulations, a TerraTrip rally computer, maybe some salvageable Cobra seats, and a run when parked single overhead cam 2-liter. Oh, and a set of Bilstein inverted struts. I did make a joke about rabies, but seriously, you don't want to breathe any of this stuff in. After I dropped the front skid plate, I put on a respirator. I evicted the current tenant and slid the contents of his grass home into a contractor trash bag. There are some tricks to keeping animals out of cars in the driveway, but really, all bets are off once it spends a year in a field.
One down.
I was anxious to see if I could get the skittle started. I had success starting this car in 2015, but once I had power, I turned the key and got nothing from the fuel pump. After getting under the car and checking that the wiring wasn't chewed and that I had power going back there, I attempted to smack it back to life.
Try it. No.
So, time to drop the fuel tank. The neon tank is held in with only 2 straps, so really the struggle is the connectors, the 22-year-old hoses, and letting it down with a quarter of a tank of gas. Once the filler tube is free, if it tips off its stand, it's going to splash, so always take precautions, gloves, goggles, and have a fire extinguisher handy before you even start something like this. The fuel pump is inside the tank, and unlike most of the cars of this day, it's not accessible from the top. The pump is in an assembly we like to call the baby that fits inside a tank at a downward angle. You could pull it from the tank while on the car, but it has to be completely empty. The only efficient and safe way to empty a fuel tank is to have the internal pump it all out. That's why we're just dropping the whole thing. Okay, now to get 5-year-old fuel out of the tank and into a safe container. If you look online, there are transfer pumps available, but this transfers gasoline from a container into your tank. I didn't really want to reverse engineer one of those, so I kept it as simple as possible. I used a 12-volt fuel pump and about 10 feet of fuel hose. I reused the existing fuel filter just to keep the bits of debris out of the future lawnmower fuel. I really should have put the filter before the pump, but I wasn't sure it was going to pull a vacuum and prime with the filter in the way. This was all done with the garage door open and plenty of ventilation. That little battery pack is a 12-volt LifePo that's handy for powering time-lapse camera sliders and fuel pumps. The little pump made quick work of it, and I rescued 2.5 gallons from the tank. I used isopropyl to clean and dry the tank and ordered a new assembly. One thing I forgot was a new fuel filter, so that's also on order. Since starting it up was going to be a few weeks down the road, it was time to get it into the garage. I have a Harbor Freight chain hoist that can sit on the top of the pole that's at the end of everyone's garage that prevents you from driving into the dining room. Some of you might be like, well, why don't you just push it in your garage? Well, garage is sloped, driveway has a good 10-degree angle to it, and since you probably don't know what it's like to push a 2,700-pound rally car on rally tires, it's hard to do that and squeeze it perfectly into a 2-car garage. Next time on RallyNotes.com, we get the pump, filter, and tank back in the car, change some fluids, and attempt to start this nugget. Thanks for joining us. As you know, likes and subscribes help here on YouTube. Please ask questions and join us in the comments for more rally car discussion. And we'll see you on the stages.